So before I get into my thoughts on the OG Snaps and Pops taking out Famous, I just want to come on here and pay these two their proper respect. In my last power recap, I kinda disrespected them saying they wasn't really doing much this season. But when you think about it, Snaps and Pops are in perfect position to make a serious power play before the end of the season. Bro, they literally have all the major players in their back pocket directly or by association. You got Rocket Marvel, who came to their aid a few episodes back with the return Unique trying to get good with them. Then you got Kanan, but then you got the associated connection. If you got Rocket Marvel, you basically got Stefano and Lou. And if you got Unique, you got the Jersey family supporting you too. On top of the fact that they got the feds on their payroll, no wonder they were so comfortable picking up Krystal in this last episode. With all those things said, I send my sincere apologies to Snaps and Pops. Respect your elders. To an extent, because y'all did take out Fame. I'm still not over that. With this video, I want to tackle a couple different subjects in relation to Snaps and Pops. First and foremost, I gotta go over my feelings on the reveal that they were the ones to take out Fame. After that, I want to talk about what their next move is, picking up Krystal in the last episode. And I want to end the video talking about what their plans are for the future. I don't think Stars just subverted our expectations just to do so with this move. I knew it was too obvious to have Rock and Marvin be the ones to take the hit out on Famous, you know, given Rock's track record and everything. And now that we're officially locking in the storyline of Snaps and Pops being responsible for Famous's death and potentially Krystal's death down the line, I think I see the path that Stars is trying to go down with these two characters. So y'all go ahead, strap in, maybe grab a snack. I'll go ahead and break down all these things to y'all and probably then some. I know I like to yap. But before I get to yapping, y'all already know what y'all gotta do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. Let's get right into the diabolical put that shit on duo that is Snaps and Pops. And I'm not even exaggerating. I was this season's old when I found out they really be having that shit on together. Match and drip on an episode to episode basis gotta be studied. Now, first and foremost, we gotta address the elephant in the room. After the events of the last episode, we now know that Snaps and Pops were the ones who were responsible for Famous's death. Juke was indeed right when she said if cops were involved in Fame's death, then the streets was the one to initiate the hit. And we see in this episode, Pops unapologetically, real nonchalantly, just confirmed that they are responsible for our boy's death. Now, when I first heard this confirmation, I was annoyed. I'm not gonna lie. It's not just because I was wrong with the theory that Rock and Marvin was the ones to do it. Trust me. If I was able to predict the whole show, Stars might as well just throw me a bag. Call me Nostradamus. It's more so just from a motivation perspective. I do feel like Snaps and Pops had a good reason to have wanted Famous up off the board. I just feel like Rock and Marvin's reason would have been stronger. They ain't been around the Thomas family since Kanan and him was young. You probably seen some shit along the way he had no business seeing. On top of that, Rock had police on her payroll too. She herself could have very well found out that Famous was talking to the feds, potentially. And that's all she would have needed to know to justify getting him off the board. But at the same time, I will say Famous is basically extended family to the Thomas family. Yeah, him and Kanan had they beef last season or whatever, but they boys. Making Famous out of his own crib is crazy, but Famous letting Rock put a gun in Kanan's bag is also crazy. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it was always way too obvious for Rock and Marvin to have been the one to take out Famous. The fact that Rock already did D-Wiz so dirt at the beginning of this series is gonna go down as her biggest mistake of the whole series, but that's a video that I got for y'all for another day. But just knowing how Rock did D-Wiz earlier on in the series, I should have known that the writers probably wasn't gonna follow that same storyline for the case with Famous. And that's one of the things damn near a week later after finding out that Snaps and Pops were associated with Famous' death that I could appreciate the writers for doing. Subverting our expectations and also giving these two characters who have been around for a little while reason to want Famous up off the board. It makes sense even if it is kind of slight. I mean, when you think about it, there was even set up for it, knowing that Snaps and Pops had police on their payroll with the comments that Ronnie was making on Famous towards the end of season 3. In fact, I actually think it was Ronnie who's the one who put Famous on their radar to begin with. We already seen how Ronnie was feeling about Famous firsthand at the end of season 3. I wouldn't be surprised if in the last conversation he had with Snaps and Pops before Kanan went rushing in after he put the hit out on Rock, if Ronnie was already bad-mouthing Famous and Snaps and Pops beforehand, talking about he know a lot about the organization as is, he could be a threat down the line. So I can't say that there's no precursor motivation for Snaps and Pops to do what they did. With that knowledge in mind, I can appreciate the reveal a little bit more, despite the fact that I still feel like it was very underwhelming. Almost like we should have expected them to be the ones to take out Fame or something. The music didn't even get hype when we found out that it was them that did it. Alright, underwhelming reveal aside, we now must talk about Krystal's involvement and all of this crazy shit. It is really diabolical how they doing her. First Fame, now Krystal? And y'all already know she's not surviving this ordeal. Now, like I said, there were clear motivations for why Snaps and Pops would want Famous up off the board. Now we gotta ask ourselves, why go to the lengths to try to take out Krystal? Especially with the knowledge we already have that Kanan went to Snaps and Pops earlier on in the episode, asked him about information on Famous and who could have taken him off the board. Now we know it's y'all who did it, and y'all go pick up somebody else who's closely associated with Kanan? Why even take this risk? Is it even worth it? If Kanan finds out that Snaps and Pops were the ones to not only do famous foul, but then to find out they're the ones that end up putting Krystal under a mattress later on in the season too, Lord knows what that boy will do with all that trauma going through his head. Man, Jukebox, by the way, don't forget, Jukebox wants parts. And when it comes to Krystal in this precarious situation, I see motivation from the writers and Snaps and Pop. From the writer's perspective, we now get to see from the lens of a different character what Famous went through while he was undergoing the torture he was. We might get to see some of the same methods that was done to Famous, done to Krystal. We didn't get to see the body, but we see what Krystal was going through in that trailer. Cody is locked up looking disheveled. I wouldn't wish that type of pain on my worst enemy. This is, in my opinion, the best way of going about depicting what Famous went through too, because at this point, I'm jacking that Antonio Ortiz. Some of the staff on Raising Kanan just didn't have the best relationship, so they couldn't shoot a lot of scenes with him this season. That's why Son gets little to no screen time, but gets mentioned in every episode leading up to episode 5. We find out that he died. So I think it's good from that perspective to see just how diabolical these dirty cops can actually get. But J Suave, why did Snaps and Pops have to do this? Krystal's Kanan's whole love interest and they business partners. Why would they want to do Kanan so foul like this? It's because they're trying to drive that wedge between Kanan and Rock further, y'all. I'm telling y'all. This ties into the final part of the video where I go over Snaps and Pops' future plans in this season and beyond. As we know, Kanan already has it in his mind that Rock was the one who's responsible for what happened to Famous. The nail in the coffin was Rock paying off them cops in episode 407. That combined with what Jukebox told him earlier on in the episode is all he needed to confirm that Rock was the one to do Famous foul. I said earlier on in the video that Rock already taken out D-Wiz earlier on in the series. Should have put her lower on the scale of candidates in terms of those who would have did Famous wrong. We've seen it on too many different occasions in this spinoff. We think things is going to go one way, but the writers continue to subvert expectations time and time again. So with that thought in mind, if we already know Snaps and Pops took out Famous, why would the writers have them now seemingly take out Krystal too? I mean, they literally just beat the repeat allegations just to do it again in this next episode with Krystal. But I personally think the reason for this is because despite the fact that what Rock has done throughout this series has been beyond foul. Taking out D-Wiz, having Kanan shoot his pop, shooting his pops right in front of him, constantly lying or bro, the list goes on really. At the end of the day, when you really think about it, all of these things that Rock has done, it's been to protect Kanan, good or bad. You can say with all of these actions, Rock had good intentions behind them. You can't say the same thing for Snaps and Pops in these scenarios. They looking out for their own dollar. Snap said it himself earlier this season or in the last season, Kanan is an asset to us. They want to continue working with him, but not Rock. We've seen throughout this season, Rock has taken a lot of L's, but in this latest episode, she's looking like she about to be back up. She finally got her supply from Hafiz. She's becoming her own connect. They gearing up to go to war against Unique, who just started networking with Snaps and Pops. So if he gets taken up off the board, that's not good for their business. We already see Snaps entertain the idea of working with Unique a couple episodes back. He says there's opportunity in working with him, but Rock doesn't get that same luxury. Despite Rock's track record and all she's done while Unique's been up out the way, they still don't want to work with her. Why is that? Why don't they want to work with her, but they want to work with Kanan? Well, that's because Kanan is easier to mold into what they need than Rock. Rock already got her own business. She know what the hell she doing in this game. You could very well argue this Unique situation is the biggest set of adversity that she's had to face throughout this series. Even with the Italians, shit got dicey with the Italians, but they handled it for the most part. He's a seasoned vet, a professional at this shit. But Kanan's somebody who's still learning the game. The title's literally Raising Kanan. They want to raise their asset into somebody who can become a major cash cow for them. We already know Rock is not willing to bend the knee to nobody. And I think Kanan got this in him too, but again, he's a lot younger. He's a lot more naive to the game. Somebody who has a lot of promise. Based on what I'm seeing them doing with Krystal, it's in their character to take these level of risks. Believing that who Kanan projects to be is who he will be. Anyway, yap aside, getting to their current plan. I believe right now they're going to have the cops torture Krystal and see what information they get up out of her before they ultimately take her up off the board. Before or after she's off, you know Kanan's going to be asking questions. He's also going to be stressing because now he can add Krystal to the list of people that he cared about that are now off the board. We didn't say this in the last episode, but off of Krystal's disappearance, I believe Kanan is probably going to bring up to Snaps and Pops that he feels like his mother is involved in Krystal's disappearance. And the disappearance of Famous as well. Even if he doesn't do that, I think their play is to gaslight Kanan into believing exactly what he already thinks. Putting all the blame and onus on Rock for the deaths of Famous, Krystal, and potentially even OC. You know Unique took out OC. If Kanan finds out that Unique took out OC, he's working with Snaps and Pops, he might get a little questionable. Start distancing himself from Snaps and Pops. They don't want that. By them reaffirming what Kanan already believes to be the case with Rock taking out all his friends, that's going to directly strain their relationship and turn Kanan into the monster that we see in the original Power. Leading to a point in the series where I see Kanan being the one to take out his mom, leaving Snaps and Pops as the ones on top of the game. Crazy theory, I know. And I know a lot of y'all are probably saying, yo, Tariq already took out Ghost in the original Power. We're talking about all these repeated storylines throughout the franchise. Why would the writers want to do that? Because unlike Tariq and Ghost, Kanan killing Rock would hold some actual weight, some actual significance to the overall story. I honestly think that's what the story is building towards, and I think that Dad snaps and pops his endgame in all of this. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do y'all think of this crazy theory I done cooked up? How do y'all think Snaps and Pops is going to be moving after the events of the last episode? Let's talk about it.